Brother Shana, Honorable Paul Begay, Vice Chair on the line as well. I want to go ahead and ask for Ms. Nakai to give us a roll call, please. 8:12 a.m. We called it to order. Thank you. Ms. Nakai, I can go ahead and do the roll call if you need some help.
Chair Freeland, I'm on the phone. Hold on. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Bye. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. All right. This phone is just acting up, but I guess the Human Rights Commission got a text message saying that their internet is out and they can't call out to this number. So I just asked them, maybe you can drive over, cross to Window Rock and come by our office and you can call in that way.
If we're having issues with the internet, do we need to postpone or do we need to wait then?
That's your call, Chair. You and the
What is the committee?
task force.
The committee's wishes. I'm not gonna make. I want my colleagues to make that determination. We have 3 delegates on the line. We can postpone and reschedule for Monday because internet is out in Window Rock, Chantal. What is the wish of the committee?
I think it's out in my area too, Kellen.
Yeah, it's out in Crown Point too.
Yeah, Frontier's out today.
Shana, Honorable Paul Begay was gonna say something.
Yes, Chair. Thank you. I do have 3 meetings this morning, and I think rescheduling it would be the best route to go.
Okay.
I have a sexual assault meeting. Of course, we have that special meeting at 10 o'clock, HESI committee meeting with Patriot Unified Schools. So that I'll have to leave at any time, at some time anyway. So yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you, brother. Deja, Nisha, what do you think? We could try for Monday again. I'm sorry, everyone, but the challenge of the internet is an issue.
Chair Freeland?
Yes.
This is Sherilyn Yazzie from the Office of the Speaker. I am on the line. We are having technical issues. We had this problem yesterday, almost most of the afternoon, so I'm not certain how long this will last today. This is from yesterday, and it's still
Okay.
we're still having those same issues this morning, brother.
Thank you, Madam Chief. Honorable Charlene So.
Shana, I apologize. I keep
okay.
getting kicked off on the call.
Are you okay with postponing to maybe early next week?
Yes, I'm fine with that, Shana. If maybe we can also put it on a weekend.
On a Saturday?
No.
Okay, let's try for early. Can we try for Monday? Ashiko.
Mr. Chair, this is Daniel here.
Hey, Shana, good morning.
Monday works.
Okay.
Monday at what time? Same time or?
Let's do 1 o'clock. Is 1 o'clock okay? For the record, Honorable Daniels made the line too.
Can we try in the morning? The afternoon, I will be busy with the state of Utah.
Okay. 8 o'clock again or 8:30?
Yeah,
8:30.
8:30? Okay.
8:30. Ashiko, Honorable Keelan McGay, brother.
Next week, what time was that, huh?
Monday at 8:30. I don't know. I think
In the
we
morning.
have RDC at 9.
Yeah.
But we
That's
can,
November
Well,
1st.
Yeah, I might be. I'm scheduling like a two-day early morning congressional staff meetings next Monday and Tuesday. So it's just an FYI.
okay. Mr. Honorable Daniels.
Next Friday, Sean.
I'm okay with next Friday.
Next Friday at 8 or 8:30 sounds good to me, because you guys all have different things going on at the beginning of the week, and then you have committee meetings too as well. So it's the first week of November. You have all those chapter meetings too, I think.
Yeah, I have chapter 9. Okay, let's go ahead and reschedule for next Friday then at 8:30. I should call committee.
Chair, this is Delegate Begay.
Yes, sir. Shana.
Yes, we do have task force meeting on Thursday and Friday. We have a meeting on Friday and a tour of the Parcel B area
Okay.
in relation to the quadrilateral agreement. So I believe me and Honorable Daniels is on that committee also. So we already have a schedule in place for Thursday and Friday of next week. Thank
Okay.
you.
Well, we can't. It's hard to fit in our state task force. Let me see. Let me see.
Chair Freeland, I also reached out to Mr. Gorman.
He's not
confirming
available.
when he's available next week.
He is?
I'm sorry, I was interrupted, but I said I reached out to Mr. Gorman as well to see what his availability is for next week to ensure that we have confirmation for him for the next meeting.
Unless we try for November 8th.
That would work. Next Monday,
Yeah.
or 2 weeks Monday.
November 8th at 8:30, since we have a pretty packed schedule for next week. Will that work for committee members? Subcommittee members?
Daniel, sir. How we go?
All right. Thank you, Shana. Good morning. November 8th, 8:30. Sorry to our lobbyists and sorry to our staff and our colleagues, but we don't have control over the internet. That's a separate issue. But I did call the meeting to order. Do I need to uncall it?
Oh, well, you could just do a motion to adjourn after
Okay.
We didn't really accept
We didn't
any
roll call anything.
agenda.
Okay. All right. I'll just go
So
ahead.
it's really,
All right.
yeah, you can just say we're done.
All right. 8:30 on November 8th. Shanata.
Chair,
Yes.
this is Delegate Paul Begay. Most likely, I will be busy all day on that day. We do have a work session with Dr. Pearl Yellowman with my 5 chapters that I oversee. So it is out there, but I think I can begin the work session and then possibly leave it up to the chapters to have their own work session.
Unless we do a 1 o'clock on that day. Did I hear my Che, Honorable So?
Oh,
Good morning, Che. Hey,
good morning.
good morning.
Hey,
Thank you for joining us. We're having issues in Window Rock with the internet, so we're going to reschedule our meeting.
too many gunmen on the Sandstone Hills. Hey, so
Yes, sir.
how about thinking about 3 to 5?
On the 8th?
Because right now, yeah, because everybody's wanting early morning meetings nowadays. Yeah.
Would that work, everyone?
This is Delegate Gay. That'll work for me. Thank you.
Honorable Kial McGay, shot brother.
Chairman, I'll go with the majority consensus.
All right. Stasia, Honorable Charlene So, 3 to 5 on the 8th.
Oh, Bika.
All right. Shina, Honorable Herman Daniels.
Abiga, 3 to 5.
Okay.
After 5, another list within which
Okay.
council.
Thank you. Thank you, Shinata. And apologies to everyone on the call, but the internet is down and we don't have control over that at this time, unfortunately. Thank you for getting up early though, and I hope you enjoy your coffee and enjoy your rest of your day. But hey, Shinata, my apologies. We don't have any control over that situation in Window Rock or the nation. So I like I said, I just got a text message from Frontier myself. Internet is also down in Crown Point, I believe. So, but hey, Shinata, we'll go ahead and reschedule. And if we can get Mr. Gorman and the Human Rights Commission, as well as rescheduling our lobbyists. Thank you for joining us, lobbyists, and sorry for getting you up so early and getting you going. Thank you, everyone.
Chairman,
yes, sir.
Chairman Kiala.
Carol,
Shana, go right ahead. Honorable Kialan.
Maybe could we maybe about for 30 minutes to just get some updates internally ourselves, because we haven't had a meeting for a while. Meeting I think how do we approach this to the state as the state task force?
Okay.
To the school board, to the superintendent, Department of Education. I think and but I don't could administratively I think that we should at least just discuss certain things quickly.
Okay.
Maybe about for 30 minutes. That's quite okay. Public hearing maybe so do we pose an opposition or do we support that particular map? So those are some areas I believe that we could do that verbally. Maybe just a quick, maybe 30 minutes area to discuss a lot of these things. That's my recommendation, but if we choose to go ahead and adjourn, that's up to, like I said, I'll just go with the majority decision.
Okay. I think we had a few of our delegates leave already. Colleagues, I see Honorable Che Thomas Walker, Shina Honorable Henyo, Che Honorable So. It looks like we did lose a quorum.
Chair Freeland, I'll go ahead and contact Mr. Gorman and all of the other presenters, letting them know what the issues are, and then that we're going to reschedule to November 8th.
Okay.
3 to 5 p.m.
In regards to Honorable Kialen's request, because it's not an agenda item, that wouldn't be an official meeting. I'm probably assuming, and we don't have an official agenda for our discussion, so it would be a non-official meeting.
Right, and there's no quorum.
We don't have a quorum. Honorable Paul Gay, are you still on the line, brother? I think he left.
Yes, I'm still on the line.
Okay. Did you, since we don't have a meeting, or we're not having a meeting, we do have 4 task force members still on the line. I think Honorable Charlene is still on the line, I believe. But did you want to just kind of enlighten us real quickly about the situation at Page? and how could the state task force assist in stepping in or providing some support to you and our Navajo students at Page Unified School District? I know it's really a HES matter, but we could really approach it from the side of the state as well, whether it be the governor's office or the legislature or even the education department with the state of Arizona, or other governmental entities that you may need help with the state, brother.
Akoshi, thank you, my brother, Honorable Delegate Mark Freeman, Chair Freeman. I think it is a great idea having a state task force and the HESI committee and other departments that can help us join forces and address this issue. The main reason why we decided is a plea from the parents, a plea from the grandparents even, and relatives. Even people that have had children that went to school in Page Unified School District, and the students have since left, but they are all concerned. And we know that the school district is outside the reservation, but the majority of the students come off the reservation. So in essence, those are our students, those are our children. Over 80% of the whole Page Unified School District is Navajo. All the way from K through 12. The issue was that in the past we've heard every now and then that there was this disharmony among the newly appointed superintendent, and then with the administration, teachers. And it's been going on for quite a while until it now got to the point where they were having a school board meeting, I believe, some type of a meeting where the superintendent was talking about test scores and things that they're working on, where he referred to some kids that are not doing so well in school. And he made reference to something like non-Navajos. It's the brown kids that will be having difficulty and failing. Racism, it was used upon our children, racist remark. You see, the pressure went on the superintendent, where on Monday he resigned. He submitted his resignation letter. He will take no part in any administrative decisions. And what we hear is the school board president, Monday, after the superintendent submitted his resignation, but the board president also resigned. But on Monday morning, early Monday morning, the superintendent rescinded his resignation. I don't even they went into the classroom, but at a certain point in the morning, they all walked out in protest of this issue.
And it sounds like the school board met again on Tuesday, and they selected one of the school board members, a Navajo lady. Name is Fowler, Desiree Fowler. Ada appointed as president of the board. And the board, I believe, voted to put the superintendent on administrative leave. The parents pleaded at that time, "Sure, you should the whole text about the message, everything. It even came to visit SCA oversight." Monday da Hesse meeting go out of Hesse. Isha with the honorable delegate Charlene Soe. Da initial thinker Honti ka at thinker but the kato at thinker. Via deal chi band that it's a public school outside the borders of the Navajo Nation. Has ungib Bakati Jahla Joella. But as Hesse committee, we really wanted to just listen to the parents, grandparents, and the relatives of certain citizens. Maybe that was a direction which way to go after we hear from these concerned community members today. Chair Freeland. Thank you.
I'm glad Human Rights Commission is on the line, and as well as my Che, Honorable So from Hess. Che, did you want to add anything? Chairman?
Oh, yeah, lots of Che. So, Che, Chair, Honorable Mark Freeland, Che, Honorable Paul Brigade. I guess waking up with some thoughts. What is the possibility of having a petition drafted so that the people that speak and their relatives could sign the petition? That petition, I feel like, would really have the weight of being to be able to be presented. Just Arizona has a different kind of system. They have a county superintendent. And you recall there was a former Navajo Nation superintendent that got elected to be the Coconino County superintendent. He resigned, and I can't remember who they appointed. That's who I think we need to place the petition before, and then use that petition as an exhibit for an official Navajo Nation position that could be presented to the Arizona Department of Education, to the governor, and even to the school board. Because if you know that water flows downhill, and if it's dirty water, then the whole system is basically polluted with that same type of mentality. And how do we make it? I read the article in the Navajo Times. I was estimating 2,500 students. That's 2,000 Navajo students. And if they bring in at least $12,000 per student, that's That's 25 million that our children bring in to the school district, to the city of Page. And that's the economic opportunity that our students create. And the main issue is the parents don't want their children to be learning by virtual. My understanding is many teachers resigned, moved. And because I guess the culture of intimidation and whatever exists there. And so we all know there's a shortage of teachers. And the superintendent, I guess, is recruiting teachers from overseas, from somewhere way far away from the Navajo Nation. And the parents object to having the students learn from a screen. They'd rather have an in-person instruction, is what I hear. And the other aspect is, previously we asked the Human Rights Commission to investigate, take statements from public schools. It resulted from that, I think it was Rio Rancho or Albuquerque Public Schools, where the teacher had cut the young students' braids. And then from there, then we asked the commission to do an investigation. And previously we met in early 2019 here in Page. Incidentally, I'm in Page. And at that time, very few people came. And Mr. Gorman asked for statements. And I think only 5 people made statements. And it really didn't amount to much. But let's hope today more folks come forward and are willing to share their story. The other thought is, if this Page School District has an enrollment boundaries, what about asking for, as part of the redistricting, that this Page School District go to single member districts? And I feel like perhaps 4 out of 5, 3 out of 5 Navajos could get elected to serve on the Page School District if there is this single member district voting concept is adopted. I say that because when I was still kind of a rowdy young man, and I've told the story before, I sued Cuba Independent School District, where at the time there was 67% Navajo student enrollment. We went to federal district court. A renowned civil rights attorney from Mississippi represented us through the National Indian Youth Council. We won. Now 3 members of the independent school district are Navajo. And so in that aspect, and all the good stories that are evolving out of Cuba right now. So that is what I see that needs to happen. The other part is in relation to the Cuba story, Time Magazine story. There was every student has a laptop. If they don't have internet accessibility, then the bus drivers distribute a flash drive in the morning for assignments. They pick them up in the evening and in return distribute another flash drive for their assignments. So those are some innovative ways that I've seen it work. And so in that aspect, Sanand, I thank you for wanting to assist the committee, and from here, you know, what we gather today will certainly make a statement to support the parents, the community, and most of all our Navajo students. Patela Shache, other members of the state task force,
Thank you, Che. Chairman Daniel So, other HES committee members on Thank you. I know we have 2 HES committee members on the state task force, Honorable Charlene So and Honorable Paul Begay. I know we still have our meeting. We still did call our meeting to order at 8:12, but in the midst of the situation with the internet being down in Window Rock, we kind of went into a discussion related to the Page Unified School District situation. So we still really haven't had our roll call yet. Ms. Nakai?
Good morning, Mr. Freeland. This is Heather Springer. I can go ahead and proceed with roll call this morning.
Awesome, thank you.
I barely got on the call because of, like you said, the internet was down. So now it looks like we're all up over here at the office.
Oh, you're up. You're up. The internet's up.
Okay.
Is the internet up? Hold on, Heather.
I believe so, yeah. I couldn't get on for a while, and then now it's on.
Okay. Shanat, can we go ahead and just proceed on with our agenda then, if that's the case, if the internet's back on? We still have a quorum.
I can proceed with the roll call, Mr. Freeland.
Okay. Let me ask my colleagues though if we can still proceed on with the meeting though.
Okay.
I have Honorable Kealan Begay, Honorable Charlene So, Honorable Paul Begay still on the line.
Shana, this is Delegate So.
Yes, ma'am. Go right ahead, Deja.
We can proceed with the meeting. I just want Anita Shayaj. We are going to have our HESA meeting commence at 10. And I do want to step off the call at 10 so that I can direct my full attention to the matter. Thank you.
Okay. All right. We can go till 10. If we lose a quorum, we do lose a quorum, but that'll be up to the committee's discretion. I think we have a very important discussion about redistricting as well as of course the situation on the page. 2 very important discussions that the state task force could start to address. Heather, if you could go ahead and call roll call for us, then we'll go ahead and proceed on with the agenda and move forward. And I'm going to ask my I'm going to ask the lobbyists to get ready to present. But Heather, go right ahead. Ms. Springer?
I'm on the call, Mr. Freeland.
Go right ahead with roll call then.
Okay. Today is October 29th, 2021, special meeting with State Task Force. Honorable Kealan Begay. Honorable Paul Begay.
Delegate Begay, present.
Honorable Paul Begay is on the line. Honorable Herman Daniels Jr.
I'm here. Okay.
Honorable Herman Daniels Jr. is on the line. Honorable Mark Freeland.
Good morning. I'm here. Thank you, Heather.
Honorable Mark Freeland is on the line. Honorable Pernell Halona. And Honorable Charlene So.
Present.
Honorable Charlene So is on the line. Chair, you have 4 members entering roll call this morning.
Thank you. We did have Honorable Key Allen Begay Jr. on the line as well.
Chairman Key is here.
Okay, thank you, Shana. There we go.
Okay,
Heather.
Honorable Kealan Begay is on the line. Chair, you have 5 members entering roll call this morning.
Thank you. Thank you, Shanata. We also have colleagues of the Navajo Nation Council. I do see Honorable Daniel So, Chairman Daniel So, Chairman Jamie Henyo, Shana, Honorable Thomas Walker, and then Honorable Pernell Halona. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, good morning, sir.
Heather, for the record, Honorable Pernell Halona is on the line, so we do have all 6 members.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Shana, good morning. We do have Honorable Nathaniel Brown. Silla, good morning. Catherine Bazowski and Madam Chief of Staff from the Speaker's Office, as well as our lobbyists. So with that, Shanta, we do have a quorum. Let's go ahead and proceed on then, if we may.
Good morning, Mr. Freeland.
Hey, good morning, Che. Thank you for joining us. In the essence of time.
Good morning, Chairman Freeland. This is Delegate Yellow here from Blood
Hey,
Mesa.
good morning, Shana. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. Honorable Yellow Hair.
Yeah.
Okay, with that, we did call the meeting to order 8:12, but we did have an announcement, or we did have a discussion related to the Page Unified School District. If I could ask my colleague, Honorable Halona, can you provide us an invocation, please, brother?
Sure. Good morning, sir. And thank you for the privilege and honor to pray for you guys today. We all bow our heads and say your own words, your own prayer, and your own mind there. We want to forget today as a beautiful day today. Lord, we thank you very much today for a wonderful day. Thank you for allowing us to join together to talk about these situations at hand. Give us the strength, the wisdom, the knowledge to move forward, Lord, to remedy the situation that's at hand today. We ask, Lord, that you bless all of the council, Navajo Nation, the 12th Navajo Nation Council. We ask that you bless the committee here today. Give us the wisdom and knowledge again to move forward today. We're thankful for all of the blessings that you have given us, Lord. We're thankful for all of the wonderful food you have blessed us with, our family that you have blessed us with. We thank you for all of the veterans that are out there today, those who are protecting our country, those who have protected our country in the past. We ask that you give them solace in their life today, Lord Jesus Christ. We ask that you bless them and give them peace in their day. Lord, we also ask that you help us today, Lord, to heal this virus that we're battling. Give all the people that have the virus strength to pull through. And those who have pulled through, give them the strength to move forward in their lives. And hopefully they can get protection with the virus from the shot vaccine. For those who have not gotten their vaccine, Lord, please encourage them to move forward to get their shot so we can try to get this pandemic under control. Lord, we ask you today, this beautiful day, that you take us home safely as we complete our business today. Those who are all on travel, bring us home safely today to your families so that we can enjoy time, especially for this weekend. Let's have some great weather this weekend. So, Lord, I ask you all these blessings, Lord, to give us all the strength and wisdom in the world to help combat this situation here today and take care of the situation here with all of our United States government, the funding that we're trying to put out there and spend with our American Rescue Plan. Guide us, Lord. Give us the strength to move forward in all these plans that we're making for the people of the Navajo Nation. And all these blessings that we ask, Lord, we thank you for everything that you have given us today. And I thank you for all those blessings that are to come. We ask all these blessings in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Yeah.
Shana, Honorable Pernell Halona, thank you for that invocation, brother. Moving along, item number 2, recognition of guests and visiting officials. Thank you for everyone being on this call this morning. Thank you for your patience in relation to the delay. The internet was down, but it looks like we're back up. I want to thank the staff. I want to thank my colleagues for being on the line. I want to thank the lobbyists as well for staying on the call. So thank you very much. Any recognition guests and visiting officials, colleagues? If not, I want to go ahead and move on down then. Item number 3, review and adoption of the agenda. Ms. Springer or Ms. Nakai, if we could have the agenda read into the record, please.
Thank
And
you.
and just before we get started, I do have a request for having Ms. Williams maybe present first on the reports. She does have a hearing at 9:30, so if we can start with New Mexico. I know there's no order, but just a request. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chair Freeland and members of the State Task Force of the Naabik'íyáti Committee. This is your agenda for October 29, 2021. It's a special meeting via teleconference. Presiding is Mark Freeland, Chairperson, Paul DeGay, Vice Chairperson. Location via teleconference, Window Rock, Navajo Nation, Arizona. 1 call meeting to order, roll call and invocation. 2, recognition of guests and visiting officials. 3, review and adopt the agenda. 4, review and adopt the journals. There are journals for January 16, 2021, March 22nd, 2021, April 17, 2021, May 17, 2021, and July 9, 2021. 5, receive reports. A, legislative updates. The first bullet is Arizona redistricting, and then the second bullet is New Mexico redistricting, and then 6 other discussions / announcements. 7, close of the meeting and adjournment. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Nakai. We are missing Utah. We do have Arizona and New Mexico, but we are missing Utah. So at some point, we need to get an update on Utah's situation as well. We do have 2 colleagues that represent Utah. So we need to make sure we include Utah as well. And I don't even know if you want to include Colorado, because we do have land in Colorado too. But just something we need to consider as well, Shanata. With that, I want to go ahead and ask for a motion and a second to adopt the agenda, and then we'll call for the vote, Shanata. Motion and second, please. Subcommittee members, Lafinigi.
Motion, Halona.
Thank you, Honorable Halona, with the motion and a second.
Second, Delegate Begay.
Thank you, Shana, Honorable Paul Begay. With that, I want to go ahead and ask Ms. Nakai for the call for the vote, please, or questions.
I can go ahead and do the vote, Mr. Freeland.
Thank you, Heather.
Honorable Kealan Begay, how do you vote?
Chairman Kealan votes green. Thank you.
Honorable Kealan Begay votes green. Honorable Paul Begay, how do you vote?
Delegate Paul Begay votes green.
Honorable Paul Begay votes green. Honorable Herman Daniels Jr., how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Herman Daniels Jr. votes green. Honorable Pernell Halona, how do you vote?
Who votes green?
Honorable Pernell Halona votes green. And Honorable Charlene So, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Honorable Charlene So votes green. Chair, you have 5 members in favor, 0 opposed, and Chair not voting.
Thank you. Shanata, 5 in the affirmative, 0 opposed, and 1 abstention. Chair not voting, 501. Thank you for that. We do have an agenda set forth in front of us. With that, I want to move on down then. Item number 4, review and adoption of the journals, January 6, 2021, March 22nd, 2021, April 17, 2021, May 17, 2021, and July 9, 2021. Shanata, if we can go ahead and establish a motion in a second, and we'll call for the questions. Call for the vote.
Motion. Okay.
Thank you, Shana. Honorable Begay with the main motion and a second.
Kealan.
All right, Honorable Kealan Begay with a second, Shanata. Any comments or questions related to the journals? If not, I want to go ahead and have Ms. Springer go ahead and call for the vote then.
Okay, Chair, I can do that. Honorable Kealan Begay, how do you vote?
Chairman Kealan votes green. Thank you.
Honorable Kealan Begay votes green. Honorable Paul Begay, how do you vote?
Delegate Paul Begay votes green.
Honorable Paul Begay votes green. Honorable Herman Daniels Jr., how do you vote? Honorable Pernell Halona, how do you vote?
Votes green.
Honorable Pernell Halona votes green. And Honorable Charlene So, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Honorable Charlene So votes green. Chair, you have 4 members in favor, 0 opposed, and chair not voting.
Thank you, Shanata. Motion does pass 4-0, 4 in favor, 0 opposed, and chair not voting. Shana, Honorable Daniels?
Did you get my vote?
I don't think so, brother. Did you want to vote?
Yeah, I voted green.
Okay.
But Mr. Chair, I'm driving to Page, Mr. T. I'm going to be going in and out through all this.
Okay. I'll be up, brother.
I'll,
Be safe, please. I wish we could have gone to page 2, but thank you though for letting us know, brother. Ms. Springer, did you get that?
Yes, I did, Mr. Freeland. Honorable Herman Daniels votes green, so that makes 5 in favor, 0 opposed, and chair not voting.
Thank you. Motion does pass to adopt the journals. Item 5, moving on down the agenda. Item 5, receiving reports. Item A, legislative updates. Could we start with New Mexico, Shanata, if that's okay? Because our lobbyist does have a trial or a court hearing at 9:30.
Oh, that's fine. You can start there.
Any
I'm okay with it, Chair Kealan.
okay. All right, Patty. Thank you. Now,
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone, committee members, delegates, staff, and visitors. I appreciate the opportunity to give you an update on legislative and lobbying activities in New Mexico. Since our last meeting on July 9th, 2021, I have focused most of my attention on redistricting activities. We have met with the New Mexico Human Rights Commission multiple times. I've met with them either by Zoom or call or in person almost every day. We have had an extensive number of meetings with the All Pueblo Council of Governments ad hoc redistricting committee to try to work out a unified approach for Native Americans toward redistricting in New Mexico. We were able to agree on certain redistricting principles, and the delegates who've been working closely with New Mexico Human Rights Commission are Delegate Henyo and Delegate Daniel So. They've been very active in the process and have worked through a lot of the maps which with Navajo Nation Human Rights Commission will be presenting either today or November 8th. I'm not sure when. New Mexico changed by statute their process for redistricting for this redistricting cycle. So they now have a redistricting commission, a citizen redistricting commission. That commission was created by statute and given particular tasks that they had to perform. And almost immediately, it was clear that the commission was greatly flawed. There's only one woman on the commission, and every member is from the Middle Rio Grande Valley, from Santa Fe down through Belen. So they're all urban members, and there's no Native American member on the commission. That became sort of distressing, and is the group of people that we've had to work with. We have found allies on that commission and have worked pretty closely to convince them that the Navajo Nation maps are the best maps, because they are. We've also met with the Human Rights Commission, with the San Juan County Commission, to urge them to adopt precinct lines that match chapter boundaries. We were partly successful in that effort, but not fully successful. The good news is that McKinley County worked very closely with Navajo Nation Human Rights Commission and did align as much as practicable the precinct lines to chapter boundaries, which is making the redistricting of McKinley County much more efficient and easier to do. I met often with the New Mexico House, so the representatives, Northwest Caucus, since that's the area of the state and the people who represent Navajo Nation, and we work closely with them at finding out what they needed, what they expected, and sharing our maps with them to show them what we needed and what we expected, in line with the redistricting principles that were adopted by actually all the Native American tribes, pueblos, and nations in New Mexico. We met with the delegates who were guiding and the oversight committee for Navajo Nation Human Rights Commission in the redistricting process. We also met with the Native American Redistricting Coalition, which is a group of sort of not elected officials that have been doing surveys and things throughout the state in order to enhance Navajo Nation's ability to select a candidate of choice. I've met and talked with the Secretary of State, because they obviously oversee the election process in New Mexico. We work closely with Research and Polling, which is the group, the company that's done the mapping for New Mexico redistricting for at least 4 decades. And we have a good relationship with them and are able to share our maps, our concerns, and tweak their maps, and talk about tweaking our maps with them. We also worked with a group that is involved in allowing the development of populations of diversity, the Center for Civic Values, in developing maps and working through having minority groups, not just Native Americans, but also Hispanics in New Mexico, Asians and Black citizens have a say in their placement in the redistricting maps. There was on October 11th, Indigenous Peoples Days, a very historic meeting of tribal leaders in New Mexico, several governors of different pueblos, President Nez, Speaker Damon, and Delegate So were there. And we worked all day through issues and agreed on a consensus map for the New Mexico Senate. We were not able to work out a consensus map for the House districts because Zuni Pueblo is insisting that their Pueblo is divided between 2 House districts, and that really skewed and upset the standard deviations from the ideal size of those districts that cover the Navajo Nation. And it also affected the non-Hispanic Native American voting age population statistics. Navajo Nation is committed through the Human Rights Commission and the principles that were adopted to maintain at least the percentage of Native American voters in each of the districts in which the Navajo Nation lies to be what they were in the 2010-2011 redistricting, which the lowest Native American voting age population in the districts in which Navajos are a minority majority doesn't go below 62%. And the Pueblo map takes two of those districts below to 60%, which is not acceptable. So the redistricting, I know you're going to get a better and overview from Navajo Nation Human Rights Commission, and I'll be back on the call after my hearing, but the judge says I have to be there when I have to be there. In addition, I have some other good news. I sent, after our last state task force meeting, some information about drought resources in New Mexico, because that was something you asked me to follow up for. And I also sent the latest reports on impact aid and the way the state is dealing with Martinez-Yazzie. A new report is supposed to come out very soon. And I will send that on to Ms. Nakai and she can share it with the committee. The other thing that we've done recently is Chair Freeland presented to the Indian Affairs Committee last week the resolution that's going through Navajo Nation Council process to request the state of New Mexico cease naming state buildings, parks, anything in the state after Kit Carson because he's a murderer. And he presented that resolution to the Indian Affairs Committee for the state of New Mexico. So they're aware of it, and we will, at the session, move that through the process, get a sponsor, and have the state legislature do a memorial on that. There will be a session for redistricting. The governor has indicated that it will start on December 6th, and hopefully the only issue on that call will be redistricting. That's not usually what happens. There's other things that sneak in, but we'll need to be ready to present testimony and work on convincing the voters in the legislature that that our maps are better. And there may be a little conflict between the Pueblo maps and our map, and that's just something that's a reality that we're going to need to work through. So the good news is I've also attended all the interim legislative committee meetings for courts and corrections, legislative finance committee, of course, all the Indian affairs, health and human services, all the meetings that seem to have something on their agenda that dealt with something that Navajo Nation wanted to have information on, including veterans affairs. The good news is, and I'll stop my report here, is that New Mexico is going to have so much money for capital outlay projects available in the 2022 session. It's fabulous, and Navajo Nation needs to get all their ICIP projects, and all your chapters need to get all their capital outlay projects on ICIP, because with the federal stimulus funds, one-time state general services money, it's the state's bonding capacity, the legislature, it looks like they might authorize $2 billion in investments in construction for the next budget year. That's a lot of money, and I know you all know Navajo Nation has a lot of need in that area. There's an estimate that there's $553 million in capacity for bonds backed by severance taxes, which is oil and gas revenue for 2022, which is 4 times more than the money that was available in FY 2018. And we did pretty well in 18. I think that was the last year I was able to lobby for you with a little hiatus. There's severance tax bonding capacity. There's 2 earmarked sections. One is for water projects, and there's 64.2 million. It looks like these are all estimates for water projects. And TIF, the Tribal Infrastructure Fund, it looks like they're going to have a little over 32 million. And Navajo usually gets good projects funded by the TIF fund as well. It looks like the state will have 244 million or more in capacity for general obligation bonds. Those are the ones that we use for senior centers mostly, but that's one-time money that has to then be approved by the voters. And the state will also have access to 133 million in federal stimulus funds that, and Delegate Begay will like this, that has to be used for broadband infrastructure, digital connectivity projects, and multi-purpose community facilities. And that money has to be spent. There's like $1 billion in general pandemic relief that's not specifically intended for capital projects, but can be used for capital projects that has to be used by the end of 2024. So there's a lot of money that some of it has to be used very quickly. And I think that that should be a huge focus for the legislative session in New Mexico 2022, which is a budget session. And we need to be in there grabbing up money for projects that have gone through the process, the ICIP process, and make sure that a good amount of that money flows into Navajo. So those are the issues I wanted to report to you. I do need to leave in about 10 minutes for my hearing, but I will be back if we don't get through all the questions. Thank you.
Patty, before we move on to Human Rights Commission, are there any comments or questions for our New Mexico lobbyists? Subcommittee members? Okay, I do have a question and comment, Patty.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for that update. Just a question related to redistricting and what you had presented. Is the maps or the current situation of redistricting favorable for the Navajo Nation, and would that be something comparable to the current districts that we have established? And then number 2 is thank you for the updates related to the capital outlay and the GOB. That's really, that's huge. That is huge. $2 billion is huge. So I know a lot of our chapters have been positioning themselves and, working with Department of Finance Administration, have submitted their ICIPs to the state. So I think our chapters are pretty well positioned right now. And I know that between now and January, that $2 billion or the fund will continue to grow somewhat. So it'll be even more extensive by the time the session begins in January. But I didn't realize how much will be available for the potentially for the chapters. And as delegates, we really encourage our chapters to really go after the state money as well. And of course, you also have the GOB funds for the senior centers. The senior centers also, I appreciate the supervisors at the senior centers submitting ICIPs that are separate from the chapters. But thank you for that update, and we'll continue to monitor those. But my question really pertains to redistricting. Thank you, Patty.
Thank you, Chair Freeland. Navajo Nation, Human Rights Commission, and the Navajo Nation are fortunate to have one of the best mappers in the United States for redistricting in Mr. Gorman. And we worked closely. I litigated the redistricting process on the trials for Navajo Nation in 2011, representing you all. and our maps prevailed in every aspect on every precinct, and they all went the way Navajo Nation wanted them to go. The Voter Rights Act is a very powerful tool to enhance voter strength for protected populations, of which Navajo Nation is and all Indigenous people are. And we have educated the legislators and the Citizens Redistricting Committee to the proposition that any retrogression, which means that losing a district that is now controlled by Native Americans, and there's 6 districts in the House, and there are 3 districts in the Senate in New Mexico, would be a violation of the Voters' Rights Act. So I think almost all the maps that will be seriously considered and that were submitted to the legislature are dedicated to the proposition that there can be no retrogression. So we will continue to work with legislators, because now we get down to the personal agendas. Each incumbent wants to have their district created so that they have the best chance for re-election. And so they all have a dog in the fight and are trying to have their personal needs met in the redistricting as it goes forward. The partisan analysis, partisanship, whether a district is Republican or Democratic controlled, was not a factor that could be considered by Citizens Redistricting Committee. But after they submitted the maps that met the criteria that they were supposed to consider, which one of them was fairness to minority voters, that partisan analysis is being done by an expert, and that information should be available, I think, today, but I haven't had a chance, obviously, to look to see if it's out there yet. And that will start a little frenzy of political activity and political, challenges to some of the maps. So I think that we're in a good position, Chair Freeland, to continue to highlight the factors that Navajo Nation has adopted, and actually the Pueblos did too, which is there can be no retrogression in the number and the voting strength in the Navajo or Native American minority majority districts, and that there can be, our ideal number for voter strength in those areas is 65% Native Americans. So I think we're in a good position, and a favorable map should emerge. It might not be exactly the map we want, but we're going to try to make it exactly the map that we want. Does that answer your question, Chair?
Yes, thank you, Patty. I appreciate that
welcome.
response. Any other comments or questions for Ms. Williams?
Freeland, if I may, Eugene.
All right, Shana, go ahead. Oh, or Shiche.
Uncle Shisho, almost in the same excuse me, question. Regards to the redistricting, my main concern, because of what's going on now in Congress, and January 6th, regards to the Republican against Democrats, seems like it's going that route. I'm very afraid of the redistricting, very concerned for my people. Because I want to know how many members of Republican or Democrats on this redistricting commission. And you said there's only one woman I know, Indigenous people, on that commission. Would that really hurt? And the boundary, the land that's there, there's going to be redistricted. My concern is that in other states, the redistricting where the Republican is more advantaged to electing their state Congress or the Senate and the House. to run the state as Republican, like Arizona. The Republican is all running the state. We got no way we can squeeze anything in there by the Democrats. So that's my main concern, of course, to this redistricting. And it is coming real fast. And no matter how we argue with the Voters' Rights Act, it won't really concern if the Republican runs the state. That's how I see it, and I'm just wishing that I'm wrong. So that's my stand regards to redistricting. I wanted to know, to see the map and see how many Republicans in that district they're going to redistrict, how many Democrats, because they're trying to make it Republicans more than the Democrats. So that's where I stand. Thank you.
Thank you, Shiche. Honorable Eugene. So Patty, did you want to respond quickly?
Yes, Delegate. So the congressional map, we only have 3 Congress people in New Mexico. And that did not change with the redistricting. The way that the districts are set up now, Navajo Nation, Big Navajo is set in 1 congressional district, the Northern District, and the satellite communities, Rama, Alamo, and To'Hajiilee, are in the Southern District, which switches back and forth between having a Republican or a Democratic representative elected from that district. And the North has, I don't think that there's been a Republican elected in that district, which has been Ray Lujan's district, ever. That in my I guess Schiff, maybe in the 60s or 70s. So Navajo's position was not to draw congressional maps, but maintain that status quo so that we have 2 representatives in Congress that represent Navajo communities, so that we have 2 folks that we can talk to in Washington. The Republicans, I think, are going to make a move to increase Republican numbers in in House District 2, which is currently held by Yvette Harrell. And the Democrats are going to try to make that more Democratic. That's a partisan fight, which actually is not an issue that is addressed by the Voter Rights Act and is just going to be political maneuvering to address that. But Navajo did not draw congressional maps. They have said that the status quo, having Navajo communities in 2 districts, seems to be working for the nation.
Thank you, Patty. Any other comments or questions for Ms. Williams before we excuse her?
I will come back on, Chair Freeland, after my hearing in case somebody thinks of something, because I'd like to hear the other presentations.
Okay, thank you, Ms.
Thank
Williams.
you.
Appreciate that.
Everyone have a good day. Am I
Mr.
excused, Chair?
Gorman, thank you, Ms. Williams. Anyone from the Human Rights Commission want to add on to the discussion related to New Mexico? I know Mr. Gorman is not on the line, but anyone from Human Rights Commission?
Good morning, commissioners and council delegates and task force members and staff. This is Lauren Bernally, policy analyst for the Navajo Nation Human Rights Commission. What we're going to show you right now are the maps that were introduced for New Mexico. And we're only speaking specifically about New Mexico redistricting at this point. We're going to get into Arizona next. And we're going to kind of move along quickly because our attorney in Arizona also has a hearing that she has to get to. So we need to move forward. What we'd like to show you is the maps that have been introduced in New Mexico. And we're going to show you the rendition that came from our office. Tiffany will upload. So if we can get permission for her to upload the map, give her the opportunity to share the screen so she can upload our maps. And we're going to start with the Senate version of the consensus map that was talked about. Tiffany?
Hold on real quick before you go, Tiffany. Staff, Office of the Speaker or Office of Legislative Services staff, can we ensure that the Human Rights Commission or the attorney does have capability to have their screen shared? Thank you.
Chair Freeland, I think Kyron can probably walk her through how to set that up.
Kyron, can you assist with? Okay, there
Okay.
we go. You got it. Thank you.
Okay, this is the consensus map. This map, as Patty alluded to, there was a meeting that President Nez as well as Speaker Damon attended, as well as our office, where a discussion concerning our maps, redistricting maps were presented. And before you is the Senate, Navajo Nation and the All Pueblo Council of Governors consensus map for the Senate. As you can see, in District 3 there, for those who have this visual screening. Tiffany, you want to go ahead and explain that, or shall I go ahead and do that?
I think you can go ahead and explain it, but I can highlight the districts that you're talking about.
All right, in District 3 right now, we have a deviation of a negative 6.93. And what we have as a Native American voting population act is 71.96%. And as you can see, this district runs from the corner of the Four Corners area up to La Plata, all the way down to Twin Lakes and takes in Tohatchee, Sheep Springs. In this particular map, as Patty had indicated, McKinley County was really helpful in the sense of aligning their precincts with our chapter boundaries in McKinley County. But you're going to see in San Juan County, we had some pushback from San Juan County. They did not go forward with aligning their precincts with chapter boundaries. So we had to kind of, in some areas, you're going to see where these voting districts are going to cause some problems with our citizens having to travel in different areas. So as we come down to District 4 down here, and in this instance, we have a negative 3.7 deviation with a NAVAP of 62.17%. Again, that stays, that's the safe haven of the 65% that we're trying to secure to ensure that Navajos elect a candidate of their choice. We go to District 22, and this is rather a large district. It's the same land base that this incumbent has had in the past, and it covers an entire area. As you can see, we go up to Dulce, Chalma area, Herfano, and then down, we drop down to Tohatchee. And this person, this incumbent covers the area of Crown Point, Vicente, Pinedale, and right in that area. So that is District 22, and then District 30. This is the district that we call the Influence District. This is where we have a Native American population of 34.55%. With a deviation of a negative 4.75. This particular district, we drop down and we pick up Alamo. We also worked with and agreed to the Pueblo's version of picking up the Isleta area, and also including all of the Acoma area. Zuni, in this instance, Zuni, the villagers Zuni wanted to be split, and so we honored their request to be split in this district. Okay, this is the Senate map. Can we go to the House version for what was submitted for House?
Just give me a moment to look for it.
Again, we are preserving the 3 Senate districts in relation to the Voter Rights Act. We want to continue to keep those districts. Okay, we're going to the Senate. This is this is the map that is online with the Citizens Redistricting Committee, the committee that Patty talked about that was created through New Mexico legislation. And so it's
Okay, so this is actually the map that we submitted for the house, which is the House Concept G. I wasn't unable to find the file in Naptitude, so I was able to look at it for on the actual website where we submitted the maps.
okay. And one of the things that we want residents to be aware of in New Mexico is that the portal that was used by the CRC was district, and we use Maptitude. So Maptitude is more detailed in providing specific shapefiles that were necessary when we looked at chapter boundaries, roads, geographic stuff. It was very specific. So what the company, which is called the Research and Polling in Albuquerque, had to do was to take those shapefiles and integrate them into district formula there. And so we have to go back and recheck everything. But this is the House Concept G that was developed by our office and submitted. This particular plan has gone forward and is now also available on the New Mexico redistricting site. And the legislators will be again looking at this particular plan. As Patty had indicated, we will have meetings coming up with the different caucus to discuss these plans. Do you have any questions? There's really, if you want me to go over the House details, I can, for those who are not able to see a screen. But for those who have the screen, you can see how well the plan is drawn out. Again, in District 9, we extended this particular district down to Zuni, not as far as down to Zuni, but clear down to, I believe it's Chechiltka, is that correct? Am I correct about that, Tiffany?
Yes.
But we have the NAVAP at 70%, and we have a deviation of a negative 6.75 there. In all of these districts, we were able to meet the criteria of no retrogression. As Patty had spoke a little bit about retrogression in comparison with our particular map and what the Pueblos provided. Up in the Dulce area, there is an extension that they have provided that is part of their territorial, but a lot of that land is leased out to non-Native Americans. And it is the Apache's preference to include that land, which would really change our numbers as the numbers begin to shift across, the population numbers and the deviations begin to shift across. So that's one of the biggest changes between the Pueblos map and our map. And so we are very happy with our map. We have been able to not retrogress, whereas the Pueblos have, in our opinion, have retrogressed from having a NAVAP population of going as far down as just 60% to 65 or 63%, but ours are pretty much in the middle of 64, 63%. So we feel that our maps are better than the Pueblos. Okay, any questions? Okay, let's move to the Senate map.
No, we actually we went over the Senate map. We do have a public education concept map that our office has developed. The PCE concept map was actually submitted with a district for Native American population for voting a candidate of their choice is 55.67%. And from this, we actually developed more majority minority districts within New Mexico when we came up with this map.
So in this map, Navajo is really carved out in District 5. So when we looked at the previous map, we saw that we were into, again, Jicarilla, Apache area. We had a representative that was elected out of Aztec. In just discussion with some of the local educators, they just felt that there was not a really good representation from this individual. And so we decided to go ahead and carve out New Mexico, to carve out Navajo under District 5. And so as you can see, we have a good deviation of a negative 0.92%. And we do have a NAVAP of 55.67%, which should really help us elect a candidate of our choice. So those are the maps for New Mexico. Do we have any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Bernali. Comment, questions, colleagues related to the presentation of the maps. I know one of my colleagues does not have access to the internet or the screen. So we do request that if you could email this information to Ms. Nakai, that way we could share it via email.
Okay.
Colleagues, any comments or questions related to the presentation? All right, if there's none, thank you, Ms. Bernali, for that update on New Mexico side as well. Very interesting, and appreciate all the work that you all doing for the Navajo Nation in relation to the state of New Mexico. Are there any other presenters for New Mexico?
Chair, this is Delegate Brown with a comment.
Shana, go right ahead. Artilla, go right ahead.
Oh yeah, Shana, Delegate Freeland. Yeah, although the state task force. Just a quick note. I did email out to the 24th Navajo Nation Council. If you could forward that information to the Navajo Human Rights Commission. This afternoon, the Utah ACLU has been following the redistricting. This afternoon, there's a webinar that we can all log on to and get the latest information on redistricting. And this coming Monday on November 1st at 1 p.m., the ACLU has invited Navajo leadership, and I would suppose that our Navajo DOJ as well as Navajo Human Rights Commission might be in attendance. This is at the redistricting hearing, and I know that the policy work that we all do, some of the best things that we can do during these very important hearings is to physically show up and sit in front of these leadership in Utah and 3 other states that were physically there and showing a presence, like what is happening today in Page with Health, Education, Human Services. So I did touch base with them, but I think this webinar that's coming up will be really important. And then, of course, this month, on Monday, I plan on attending. I'll be in person at the Utah State Capitol at the redistricting hearing. As Human Rights Commission and majority of us know that Utah also we've run into some problems where they have not been constitutional and basically breaking up our district and the lawsuits, the number of lawsuits that's the litigation that we had to go through also. So a lot of important information. I'm glad that this committee, state task force, is tackling that as well. So and I'm interested to know when the Arizona redistricting hearing is going to take place, and I would like to be in attendance for that as well. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Nathaniel Brown. Committee members, is anyone from the state task force going to be attending the meeting in Salt Lake City on Monday morning regarding redistricting? Committee members, will the Human Rights Commission be up there? And thank you, Shana, for that update.
Chair Freeland, we got word of the meeting yesterday as well, and although we have been following the activities there, our interest really has been focused on San Juan County. We understand that the consultant that was hired to draw preliminary maps for San Juan County, and we're talking about the county commission as well as the school district maps, is going to be providing those maps next Tuesday to the San Juan County Commission. We understand that the maps are very similar to what was presented to the county through the special master. We went through the litigation, so we look forward to those maps. There is also the opportunity with respect to the meeting next Monday to also participate via Zoom, and that would maybe be our preference. Mr. Gorman, I have not alerted him of this particular meeting. I just got the information, as I stated yesterday, late. So in terms of our participation, it may be that we may be participating through Zoom.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Bernali, for that update. Honorable Nathaniel Brown, do you have any information you can send to Ms. Nakai about that meeting on Monday?
Yeah, I will forward that information. So if you click on the links, it'll give you the full details. The webinar and Monday's meetings at 1 o'clock.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair Freeland, may we move to Arizona, and could we start with our attorney, Judy Dorkin?
Yes, if there's no comments or questions for New Mexico, Catherine, do you have anything to add? I know we have you on the agenda as well. Anything real quickly for New Mexico before we move to Arizona?
No, nothing to add, Chair. Thank you.
Okay. All right, Shana, Che, Honorable Eugene Sell, go right ahead.
Now, I'm very concerned about this, but I have a question next meeting. Is there a way you guys can send me all the stuff that's coming across your desk over there during this meeting?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Che, we can email out to all the delegates that were on this call as well, aside from the state task force members, okay? Ms. Nakai, if we can ensure that our colleagues do get the information to be shared as well. Ashwada. Agoshina, thank you, Che. With that, Ms. Bozowski, you don't have anything to share for New Mexico?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Catherine. With that, I'm going to go ahead and move on down the agenda then to the Arizona side. Mike Balecki, Carlisle, we'll start with you, then we'll move to Lauren. Mike, if you want to make it a presentation, or do you have anything you want to start with?
Mark, I think that Judy Dworkin is having time pressures.
Right.
Okay.
Let me just say that your Human Rights Commission, again, in Arizona is doing a more than credible job in the process.
Okay.
And probably a more difficult environment too, politically.
Thank you. Thank you. Judy? Good morning, Judy. But go right ahead. You have the floor.
Good morning. I think I've been unmuted. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, yes.
Okay, yes. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Council delegates. I have been asked to represent the Human Rights Commission and the Navajo Nation with respect to the redistricting efforts in Arizona. And Mr. Gorman, of course, has been, and the rest of the Human Rights Commission has been extremely instrumental in developing alternative proposed maps for the plan that would involve the Navajo Nation. The challenges so this is the third round of the Arizona Independent Redistricting Commission. They were formed and redistricted the state in 2001, 2002, again 2011, 2012, and now we're the third round. But each time the commission is a very different group of people. It's always 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, and the chair is always a neutral. This potentially because of COVID, this commission has worked much more with regard to emailing in comments rather than having a significant amount of in-person meetings. And even when they've had in-person meetings, they've limited communications to 3-minute blurbs, which have been I think adversely have impacted Native Americans and as well as Spanish-speaking people because of the issues of language. In any event, last evening they passed approved draft maps and I'm primarily talking about the legislative maps, although they did also approve draft congressional map. And they will start around the state again by providing listening sessions about objections to the map. Our role in particular was to draft legal arguments and to be communicating with the lawyers. The lawyers to the commission are both a law firm that represents the Democratic interests on the commission and a law firm that represents the Republican interests on the commission. We've been communicating with both firms, Ballard Spahr and Snell and Wilmer. I have done a couple of memos with respect to the impact that we think the commission should consider. So some of the issues that arose with respect to the way the commission was looking at maps is that we have historically used non-Hispanic Native American as the numerator and total non-Hispanic Native American VAP or voting age population, that is population over the age of 18 in the numerator, and in the denominator total VAP or total population that's over the age of 18. The commission has used different data, all of it available through the census, or most of it available through the census. They have used a citizen VAP, which would be a somewhat smaller number than the overall VAP, because it based upon not the 2020 census, but what's known as the American Community Services. They have estimated what the number of citizens are as opposed to just the population, which makes the denominator somewhat smaller and artificially increases the percentage of whatever the numerator is. They came up with the commission in their what they called legislative 6.1 map came up with a 58% Native American population, which is less than what we had in both in 2001 and in 2011. That is, we were around 62% in 2001, 2002, and then 63% in 2011, 2012. It made a significant difference, not, I think, as much by the 1% difference in Native American population, but because they, if you will, filled in, after you pull in the reservations, they filled in with a population that was not as concentrated as the city of Flagstaff, which was in the 2001, 2002. This is important because of something what's called single-shot voting. That is, in Arizona, we have a single district. The districts are districts that are the same for the Senate, state legislative Senate, as well as for the House. The difference is in the House, you elect 2 representatives, in the Senate you elect 1 representative. But because of that ability to elect 2 representatives in the House from a single district, which it's referred to as a multi-member district, and the courts have not favored those districts, but they continue to exist in Arizona, and it's something that I think the Navajo Nation. I've spoken with the Human Rights Commission and with members of council over the years about whether or not we should challenge that at some point, certainly before the 2031 redistricting, for the following reasons. If you have, it is typically the case that if you have a majority-minority district, you may be able to elect the first of those 2 House seats as a candidate of the Native Americans' choice. But if the non-Native population, if the Caucasian population is concentrated and is organized, it can single-shot vote, meaning only vote for one candidate, their candidate of choice, and oftentimes that will knock out the candidate of choice of the Native Americans. So it meant that in the 2002, 2010 election seasons, the Native American population was able to elect one representative, but not both representatives. In the 2012, when we were not with the City of Flagstaff, we were able to elect both the House candidates of our choice. So that's kind of one of the issues that kind of we focused on with respect to the drawing of the legislative district. Just for purposes of reference, the legislative district 2012 to 2020 is LD7. The way in which you go back and now go on to the Arizona Independent Redistricting Commission, you will see that the numbered district that we're looking at is what's referred to now as LD6. Last night they approved a map which included, I don't believe without any changes, the map that had been what was referred to as LD 6.1, which we do not think is a good map for the Navajo Nation. It has, I have only been able to look at it briefly, but it, I'm sorry. But it has the exact same statistics, and it has a percent deviation, meaning of the ideal population for a district, the deviation is slightly less than ideal, but not as much as we would like. So a couple of things that we look at when we're redistricting is what is the percentage of non-Hispanic Native Americans over the total population in the district, and what is the deviation? So the smaller the population for the denominator, the more how it is more easy for you to then create a higher percentage of Native Americans as long as you're filling with non-Indians. Our district, similar to previous districts, includes many of the rural reservations in Arizona. So I think it's 6 or 7 of the Native Americans, all who want to be with us or who have not said they don't want to be with Navajo. So it's Navajo, White Mountain Apache, San Carlos Apache, Havasupai, Wallapai, Hopi, and I think Kaiba Paiute is also in there. And Zuni is included, but Zuni has really no population in the Zuni part of the Arizona state. So we have written a couple of memos to the commission and to the lawyers of the commission explaining what statistics should be used, which they weren't using, and what why it was important to underpopulate our district in order to make it easier to have a higher percentage of Native Americans in that district. What we found was that rather than really underpopulating, our district is only minus 1.68% underpopulated. The greatest underpopulated district, and I believe that's one of the Hispanic majority minority districts, is minus 4.95%. So they were able to underpopulate that district and thereby allowing a greater Hispanic district. But for the Navajo Nation, they left it with only what they refer to as 58% Native American, but if they use our statistics, which I believe they did, they have reported as 54%. It's actually a little less than that, 53.5 or 6%. So we will have an uphill battle to try to encourage the commissioners as part of the listening session that will now take place over the next several weeks as to why this is not as acceptable a map as we would like. I believe it continues to include Flagstaff. It takes out some of the communities in the eastern part of the state that did not want to be with the Navajo Nation. I believe St. John's and others, but I haven't been able to look carefully at the district yet because we just got the map late last night. So that's kind of the challenge that we have in front of us. The population, the state of Arizona continues to grow significantly. We continue to have only 30 legislative districts, which makes it harder and harder for us to be able to maintain a robust majority-minority district. And certainly on top of all of that, and I'm sure you're all aware of this, the fact that the census was cut off earlier than what had originally been extended to allow for. I saw a statistic yesterday that said that the percentage of Navajos that were actually participated in the census was like under 30% in much of the Arizona sections of the state. So, you know, you're up against the fact that the census demonstrated that, at least in Arizona, the population for the Navajo Nation decreased, whereas the state of Arizona increased by almost 1 million people. And now we have a commission that does not want to be very aggressive in trying to protect our district from, if you will, dilution under voting on the Section 2. I think that's my initial comments. I'd certainly be willing to answer any questions that any of you might have.
Thank you, Judy, for that comment from Honorable Kealan Begay Jr. Shana.
Chairman, you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay. Appreciate the. I just wanted to wait until everyone kind of like finish up with their presentation with New Mexico, Arizona, and Utah. That's it, you know. But the main thing that it comes back to my mind is that when we, as a nation, when we say Navajo Nation as a nation, how is that being argued in this redistrict process? I mean, Navajo Nation is one. I mean, we don't see state of Arizona and state of New Mexico going into their boundary for this redistrict purpose, and they're one state of Arizona, Utah, and so on. And if we have a treaty with the United States, and shouldn't the Navajo Nation be unison in one area geographically, and that we're not being divided up? And I don't know. I mean, like all New Mexico Navajo reservation, no matter what, stays one. But I'm not sure how that argument is. But we understand that they're trying to be geographically, or as far as the equal of Democrats, Republicans, and so on. So, ekwakiki halet elansen dik at o Navajo Nation or sovereign nation need, but when it comes to certain area such as the state, it's undone hitting so bana as the ekodo what at the halet elat hit alla argument in lingish ye nazin shohediyat. These are sovereign nation. We really can't go into dividing them up. Chairman, what I night that kidole.
Honorable Kealan Begay. Judy, did you want to respond to that?
I would like to respond to that, Mr. Chairman, and I do apologize. I was only able to understand the English portion of the the question, but I'll just respond to that part. The Navajo Nation is clearly a sovereign nation, and for certain purposes, it negotiates and meets and settles and communicates with both the states of Arizona, all of the states, certainly Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah, as well as the United States, as a sovereign nation. But in addition to that, certainly under the voting laws that finally were passed in the 20th century, individual members of the Navajo Nation have the right, they are citizens of the United States, first of all, and as citizens of the United States, they have the right to vote in federal elections to elect people to the United States Congress and to the presidency, but they also have the right to vote in state elections. And so it is with respect to the role as individual members of the Navajo Nation and as voters in the state of Arizona that we are representing the Navajo Nation in that regard in the redistricting efforts. In other words, the Navajo Nation and the Human Rights Commission that has been delegated to deal with this issue is protecting the rights of their members to be able to elect candidates of their choice, particularly in those locations in which they are the majority of the population in that compact, contiguous area. So it is with respect to that issue and that issue alone that redistricting becomes so important. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dorkin. Comments or questions, colleagues?
Mark, this is Mike Bilecki. I'd like to make just one brief comment. As distinct from New Mexico, as distinct from New Mexico, this commission is going to be making decisions on these lines. It doesn't get referred to the legislature. So you've got 5 members on the commission. 2 are Democrats. Derek Watchman is one of those. 2 are Republicans, and you've got a neutral who's an independent. 4 years ago, the independent was a Republican. And I think she's actually trying to do a job to unite the entire commission in a common position that they end up with. In other words, when they're done, the maps they render are subject to judicial review and not a political vote in the Arizona State Legislature.
Right.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bilecki. Shanant, we do have a couple of additional colleagues joining us this morning. Thank you for joining us, colleagues. Honorable Otto So, I think he's on the line. And is that Chairwoman Charles Newton? I think I saw her on here earlier too.
Chair, this is Charles Newton. I am on the line.
Okay, thank you. Stasia, thank
Honorable
you for joining
Freeland?
us. Otto, yes.
Good morning. That's Ifan. So I'm on the line.
Okay,
Trying to
thank you.
get into
Thank you for joining us.
service area.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Chairwoman Otto, Vice Chair again, Osanigi, thank you for joining us. Ms. Springer, if you could make sure they're, for the record, they're on the call.
Chair, this is Delegate Charles Newton.
Yes, ma'am. Go right ahead, Chairwoman.
Thank you, Chair. Just one is I was on the Zoom, but it went quiet and I kept trying to ask if anybody could hear me, but we lost sound on the Zoom. So just FYI, I don't know if there were other delegates or other people who were on Zoom, so I wind up having to call in. But in terms of the information that was provided to us, thank you for that information. I guess my question would be in terms of the Arizona redistricting, are we, and perhaps this question was already asked, but is there kind of I guess a glimpse into what they're thinking already with the redistricting? For instance, do they have a map, and are they saying this is what we're thinking right now, which will provide us, Navajo, the chance to look at that map to see if it really is, I guess, if it really is as comprehensive as they're trying to lay out, or do we wait until the very end when they say this is our decision and this is what we decided? So I guess in a lot of ways, what I'm asking is, I'm very visual. So if I could see a map of currently what the redistricting is, and then a map of where they are looking to redraw the lines, I think that would help me in terms of asking the right question. So do we have that information to provide comments on behalf of Navajo? Thank you.
Akela, Chairwoman, thank you. We did have a Zoom connection earlier, but the internet was down. So our apologies if you were speaking and we didn't hear you at that time, but there was challenges this morning with the internet on the nation. So, Ms. Dorkin, do we have any mapping information we can share with our colleagues?
We do have, and we can email it out, or I can ask. Unfortunately, because of the issues with Zoom this morning, I'm actually on a phone. I'm not on my computer, and I didn't know at what point I should try to get back on the computer. So there are maps. You can easily get you can get them by searching the Arizona Independent Redistricting Commission, and we can certainly send them over to Ms. Nakai to send out of what is the now approved draft map and the draft statistics. So that is available. As I said, it does cover all of the Navajo Nation that is within the state of Arizona, as well as these other reservations. They've kept all of the reservations whole. The challenge in Arizona is the fact that the population has grown so significantly in the areas that have nothing to do with Native Americans. They've grown in Tucson and Phoenix and the areas in between. And as a result of that, it becomes greater and greater challenge to maintain as robust a majority-minority district as we had in 2001 or 2011. But we certainly will be able to provide that. And I believe the Human Rights Commission can actually, if you are on Zoom, the Human Rights Commission can upload the map and share it with you now. Is that right, Lauren?
Yes, we can. We can go ahead and upload two maps. The first map will be Navajo Nation's submission. And this is just with respect to our plan that was submitted to the Independent Redistricting Commission, and Tiffany is working Mr. Gorman's Maptitude software. So we'll get that loaded. And then in terms of the plan that the Arizona IRC has finalized, that is found on their website. And I don't know if we can do a comparison, but very much this is the plan that Navajo has submitted. This plan was tweaked, I believe it was Monday. And in this particular plan, if you look at District 7, we have a deviation of a negative 6.94 and a Navajo Native American population of 57.77. And this is a little higher than what the IRC is proposing. I don't know if we can zoom in a little bit more down by the White Mountain and San Carlos area. We have worked quite frequently, and we've spoken. We have a very good dialogue with both of these nations. They have committed to remain in LD7. We have pretty much what you see here for their nations is what was proposed back 10 years ago in 2011. And Tiffany, can we go up a little bit higher? And if we go to St. John's area, you can see where our county border lines are. You have the Apache, Navajo County. And if you look in the Apache County line that runs linear here, you'll see that Concho, St. John's, we took in St. John's. The map that is before the people that is on the IRC map has taken out St. John's. We talked among ourselves, we talked to some of the leaders, and very much people believe that St. John's is the county seat for Apache County and that it should remain in our district. So when you look at the rendition that is available over at the AIRC site, you're going to see that St. John is taken out and is put into the district below, which is District 6. As we continue further up, we've also included Holbrook. Holbrook had a substantial amount of Navajo population. In the IRC map, you don't see Holbrook in there. Winslow also was kind of carved out a little bit, but we put Winslow back in there because, again, we do have substantial amount of Native American population in there. And as we come towards Flagstaff, we have split Flagstaff. And in that, we have gone around the Doney Park area, Timberline, and we've come into Flagstaff. And when we looked at the Flagstaff areas, we specifically looked at those areas that had low income, where we found housing units that were pretty much designated for low income people, because that was the advice that we got from our friends in Flagstaff, who said this is where you find a greater amount of Native American population. So we carved out part of Flagstaff, and we also included the peaks in our area. Can you come out a little bit so they can see the broader map, and continue to include Big Bocayus, again, Wallapai, all the way up to Kanab or Kanab, as well as Hopi. So this is the map that we had introduced, but I don't know, Tiffany, are you able to load what is now on the IRC website under their current plan? This plan was finalized, as Judy said last night. This plan will go out now to the public in terms of public hearings. And we would really encourage our constituents to get involved at this point, to come out and support Navajo's plan. This is the plan that the IRC has now approved, and they will begin public hearings on this plan. And as you can see in this plan, they've included all of Flagstaff. They've taken out Winslow, and they've dropped a little bit below Winslow and Holbrook. And we think that's that area where that the power plant is. And then they've taken out completely Holbrook, and they've kind of come down and whipped up and taken out St. John's and run kind of linear down along the east end of Arizona. So you can see where we've tweaked our plan to be more, wanting more Navajo population. And as Judy had indicated, and then when I looked at the plan this morning, certainly they did not take into consideration our recommendations at all. Please keep in mind that the 2020 census in our area in Navajo, we lost about 40,000 people that we need to make up. And this is why we have to go into Flagstaff. There was a decline in population in Apache and Navajo counties. And in terms of these legislative districts, we have to pick up at least 238,383 people of Native American voting age population to make up District 7. And this is why it's going to be really difficult. We have big challenges ahead of us in Arizona, and we certainly hope that we are able to get the support that's necessary to move forward Navajo's maps.
Chairman and council delegates, I would like to mention another thing now that you've been able to see the maps. One of the issues is, as Ms. Benali has indicated, the ideal population for any of the 30 districts is 283,383, I think is 238,383 population. The concerns and what the courts would look at is the deviations in the districts from that ideal population. That's the number that we talk about, minus or plus. Are you underpopulating the district or are you overpopulating the district? The courts have indicated that as long as the absolute deviation from the most underpopulated to the most overpopulated in legislative districts, not congressional, but in legislative districts is less than 10%, they will presume that it is valid in terms of a one person, one vote, because the state is trying to address other issues like compactness and contiguity and competitiveness and not breaking up communities of interest and that sort of thing. What we have argued in our legal analysis, and as Ms. Benally has indicated, the map that we submitted to the ARC had a minus 7% deviation. That is, we underpopulated the district by 7%. In order to meet the 10%, that means that the most overpopulated district can be no more than just under 3%. When I look at the approved draft map as it exists now, there are 4 districts that are overpopulated by over 4%, 4.98%, 4.53%, 4%, 4.08, and 4.19. So that would mean that if they were to approve the plan just as we have drafted it, that would mean that that's certainly over 11% deviation. The state could do that as long as there was a significant policy reason to do that. And we've tried to propose a policy reason to do that. For example, the primary reason being the census counts during COVID when the nation was completely locked down, as well as other Indian reservations also. That could have been a reason to go even more than 10%, but the commission, at least through their lawyers, has been absolutely unwilling to consider that strategy. So we've looked at trying to reduce the percentage, and some of the maps that we've provided to the Human Rights Commission, and that is ones that we would at least be able to consider. They have sort of less than 5% negative or underpopulation, and would continue to allow them to stay within the 10%, and would continue to allow these overpopulated districts to reduce it to being under 10%. That will be one of the arguments we want to continue to press with respect to the listening sessions going on over the next few weeks. And I urge, as Ms. Benally has suggested, that as many Arizona Navajo individuals speak out at these sessions or provide written comment for these sessions as possible. We've also, of course, encouraged, we'll continue to encourage the other Indian reservations to do the same. Thank you.
Yeah. I would like to add that as we are putting together our what we call our special circumstances to support the enhancement or the going beyond the negative 5% on this deviation, we're looking at specific issues that are very prevalent on the Navajo Nation. Not only the undercount on the census, but also looking at infrastructure, also looking at how COVID affected the count, as well as looking at the social economic issues on the Navajo Nation. There's a number of variables. I believe we've identified 10 different special circumstances that we are now putting information together to assist Judy and that group with this argument that we want to move forward. So that's it. That concludes from this end. I don't know if Mike has anything else to add, or Judy.
Mr. Bielecki or Judy?
No, I'd be willing to answer any other questions anyone might have, but I think that's kind of the state of affairs in Arizona at this time.
Okay, if we could get a visual map, or if we could get some sort of mapping. I know my colleagues are on the phone due to the technicalities of this morning. If we could get some visual materials sent to us, that would be very appreciated.
We will send you both the maps, the draft map that was approved and the draft statistics, as well as what our plan for that district. Don't be too confused. Legislative District 7, which is what we continue to call it in the maps that we provide to the commission. The commission is calling the district that we're in LD6. So that, but I'll do a little overriding memo so that it'll be clear what you're looking at when you look at these couple of maps.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Dorkin, for that. Any comments or questions, Shanatai? Colleagues, State Task Force members?
Chairman Kealan.
Shana, go right ahead.
I guess the approach of preparation as a state task force and the nation, but yet a lot of time it seems, and probably the state level sees Navajo as one, but yet we always hear or see different areas of Navajo making a pitch to either the commissioners or the body that is going to finalize this particular map. Is it the Human Rights Commission Office? Is it the Navajo Nation Council? Is it the President's Office? Or obviously it's the people. But the people, we try to reach out to them, and sometimes it's very limited in getting the response and what their positions are. So a lot of times we have to, as delegate, pick up the what we see best on behalf of them. And he's a report that they laki hilat IC yisiki di the don to anhi could the parts anane kato yashonda. What seems best by DOJ, what seems best by the council, by the president, in unison. Halit ala ekodo nasnet nejet dilan dit audit nitigila maybe that's an internal area where we really need to talk about. Public hearing upon that state. I know with an art district, I didn't attend any of them, but I've been getting some update information from the Human Rights Office. As a state task force, again, I mean, do we pick this up and then are we, obviously we have to bring this back to NABI and then probably to the full council. Khalid ala EPC zindo lilti kodo to ebe benache kodo the shinit ila isiki kodo nalsos in maybe, and we know that we have one Navajo on the board. Ila ye betzilo ye yaltkito leto ye zindo le. If there's limited documents that he has, he's probably trying to look to the nation as a government, as a whole body. I mean, what is it? What justification are we providing him? But in return, we're not providing any positions. Then it's really a situation to where if there's not much of an input, then Mr. Watchman is probably saying, I'll just do my best is what's the best interest of our Navajo people or my Navajo people. She know that we participate in the meeting, but we haven't really made a position yet. Jordana special session bana state a koko ediki kododi basic zido baby nidza no yat eto listen I hear I saw another one coming in from Utah. Kodo aje shin this afternoon. She started the late last door. That Chairman, I guess I'll look up to your leadership and guidance about what we need to put in writing, and maybe start putting it forward to where we know that there's a positions by the whole Navajo Nation government that we are in this at this level, and then we are in support of this particular document or this map. No, that's a big, so that's a recommendation I'd like to hear, Chairman.
Kiala, Shinatai, Shinaado, Honorable Kiala Begay. I'm going to go ahead and move on before I go back to Ms. Bernali and Ms. Dorkin. Shdeje, Honorable Charlene So. Comment?
Oh, Shana, the question is so Utah redistricting. We do have that discussion with ACLU today, and a Monday ago, I know that there's going to be a presentation there at the state capitol in the state of Utah in Salt Lake City. And right now, you know, with this, we're the unknown time frame is kind of a concern to me. And just as we are approaching, you know, legislative season with the state, what do we need to do in our part as state task force members? Do we need to actually go and meet with our state representatives at their respected chambers and their offices? Because right now we are fighting for fair redistricting in the state of Utah. Half of my constituents live in the state of Utah. And right now, you know, I was hoping to get much more of an insight from our lobbyists. And if we could, I'm not too sure if the meeting I scheduled for Monday, can we have our lobbyists as well as with our Human Rights Commissioner gather as much as they can for a report for the next meeting? I believe that I'm going to be attending on Monday in Salt Lake to support my constituents. And I just want to say that in the brief is just what is the time frame, and then what else do we need to do to support this?
Akela Shadeja Ado Shanata Ado Shana Honorable Keelan Begay. Very good questions and comments and concerns. And I guess the question to Ms. Bernali, Ms. Dorkin, or Ms. Williams, as well as Mr. Bilecki and Mr. Begay, Carlisle, is what is the time frame? Is when does each when is the finalization of each redistricting mapping going to occur, and when is the consideration going to be completed, and when is the implementation actually begin? When I know it may begin the next election cycle, possibly, but what's the time frame? I guess the timeline, and what can we do as a state task force aside from what was recommended by Honorable Keelan Begay as far as a position statement? What else can we do to really enhance the voice of the Navajo Nation?
Mr.
And if we could, Ms. Benali, before I respond, can you also respond to Honorable Keelan Begay and Honorable Charlene So too, please?
Yes, I can.
Right, you go.
Thank you so much for those questions. First of all, back in June, Naabik'íyáti passed a resolution designating this office to proceed with all of the redistricting activities on behalf of the Navajo Nation. And then in that particular resolution, we followed the model that we instituted 10 years ago with respect to the speaker designating or appointing specific representatives from the three states, New Mexico, Arizona, and Utah, to assist us and guide us as we begin to move forward in these activities with redistricting. And then for New Mexico, we work closely with Daniel So and Jamie Hinyo. In Arizona, there are 3 individuals that have been appointed. One individual is Mr. Winika. The other is Key Allen Begay and Carl Slater. And then for Utah, we have Charlene So as well as Herman Daniels. And we have been sending out information. Because we've been really moving along. We started with New Mexico, and New Mexico session is moving along very well. As you know, the maps pretty much are in the hands of the legislators right now. So the process for New Mexico at this point would be to begin to, as we go forward and start dialoguing with the caucus committees there, that you support us on that end on the map, so that there is going to be some issues are bargaining where we're going to put some of these lines with respect to the 6 maps, the 3 house maps that have gone before the legislators now, the 3 Senate maps, and then the congressional maps. Those maps are now out of the hands of the Citizens Redistricting Commission and now over at the legislative body. So that activity, and Patty Williams can talk a little bit more about the meeting she's setting up and the dialogue that we need to do at that point. For Arizona now, Arizona has a different time schedule. Now, this particular group, the IRC group, is now finalizing these maps. These activities began back in August. Began back in actually July. And we had hosted one of the meetings over here at the museum at the end of July. And this was when the committee came out and started soliciting information about what people wanted to see in these maps. There was a lot of public information that went out. We worked closely with the committee. We even conducted some live broadcasting about this particular activity. And so all of the public input was solicited at that point. They took that information, they did a grid map. We talked a little bit with the appointed members about the grid map, and we also established a internal working committee where we have a meeting every week with the President Nez and his group, updating them on our maps and what's happening, what's transpiring with respect to all the changes that are going along in the different states. Now that where we're at now with Arizona, as indicated, the map that is being proposed is going to go out for more public input now. And so this is the opportunity where Navajo Nation can formulate positions on this and voice your opinions before the commission. One of the biggest obstacles that we're facing is that the commission has chosen the venue of utilizing internet access, Zoom discussions. 10 years ago, we were able to do actual person-to-person meetings, public hearings that we're able to participate in. We found that more effective for our people. That schedule should come out, and once we find out where these maps will be on Navajo, we will be able to get that information out and hopefully get some support with respect to how we want to tweak this map. For Utah, the same thing happened in Utah. Utah had 2 different independent redistricting commissions. You had the Utah Independent Redistricting Commission that was passed through a referendum of Utah citizens, and then the Utah legislators all of a sudden just this past year decided to create their own group. And so you had 2 different groups that are now drawing maps, and Utah is also now at a point. They had hearings in Moab, they had a hearing in Mexican Spring. Constituents out in the Utah area were present at that time. There was a lot of information disseminated to the chapters regarding this and through the Navajo Utah Commission. Hopefully that information went down to the public level, but that information was gathered by the Utah group, and now we're kind of at the point where now that's in the hands of the legislators. And again, this is where a lot of public input is again needed on the proposed maps that are there. They're not finalized yet. It gives you the opportunity to provide your input. So with that legislation in hand, we've been using that as the template to work with the designated appointees in getting this information out, because these meetings are happening almost daily, and we're following them as much as possible. We're providing input, and then we're calling meetings with the appointees because we want direction. We want to make sure that, is this okay? Do you agree with this? And so we have to largely depend on those appointees that Speaker Damon had made to guide us, to provide us some guidance, as well as working with President Nez's working group.
Chairman.
Go ahead.
So just to kind of finalize the answer to the question with regard to Arizona's deadline for actually approving final maps. With the approval of the draft maps yesterday, there is now a mandated 30-day public comment period before they would go back to tinkering or tweaking the maps or revising them. So we're looking at the end of November for the start of the final tweaking of the maps. And then the commission themselves had originally proposed a December 22nd date for approving the final maps. But because they didn't get the data for those until much later this year, they had originally anticipated that it might go into January. Always the challenge is to have these plans in place so that candidates that want to run know what district they would be running from. But the governor has indicated that people can actually file petitions either with the old plans or the new plans or whatever. So it makes it a little bit easier. But the Secretary of State for Arizona would like the plans by the New Year deadline. It may go over a little bit into January, but given the way the commission seems to be addressing issues raised by the public, including the Navajo Nation, I think that they might actually finish these things off by December, not necessarily in a way that we would like, and then the issue will always be, do we, as Mr. Bilecki said, it doesn't go to the legislature, do we have to raise a challenge judicially? Thank you.
Commission Chair, this is Patty, and the process in New Mexico is quite different. The Citizens Redistricting Commission's work ended last week, or maybe it's been 2 weeks now, when they submitted the maps that they approved. The next step in New Mexico is the legislative session, a special session regarding redistricting will be coming up. And as I said before, the governor is signaled that it will probably start December 6th. And the legislature under the statute can throw out all the maps and just do their own map. So there's not predictability in this process. And so what stage we're at now in New Mexico is government to government interactions. And we are setting up meetings in New Mexico, the Democrats control both the House and the Senate. And we're setting up meetings with the caucuses to advocate for our maps, and some work sessions where the Northwest Democratic House Caucus is going to meet with the Pueblos, APGC, and us and some other stakeholders to try to find a map that there can be some consensus on in the House. And the Senate's a little easier because the Native Americans have agreed on a consensus map for the Senate. So we're at the lobbying stage of redistricting, and we may need, and coordinated through Navajo Nation Human Rights Commission, who's been appointed to be point on the redistricting activities and have done a very good job on that. We may need to have some people come down and testify at particular committees, depending on how the session goes. So that would be the delegates' next involvement in redistricting in New Mexico.
Thank you, Patty, as well as Ms. Dworkin and Ms. Bernali. Shanant, I know we don't have a lobbyist for Utah. Is the chief of staff, Madam Chief of Staff, on the line still? Or Mr. Donovan Hanley? Okay, I know we don't have a Utah lobbyist, but we can definitely work. I know Honorable Charlene, so you did make that request to get an update. Ms. Bernali, if we could maybe come back together, after Monday, and kind of regroup as for Utah is concerned and what the direction Utah is taking, especially as it pertains to San Juan County, Utah. So maybe we might have to call another special meeting just for Utah only. But that's a recommendation as far as I'm concerned, but I'll leave that discretion of the subcommittee. Yeah. But, are there any additional comments or questions?
Chairman, Delegate Otto Self.
All right. Good morning, Shana. Go right ahead.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning. One area is that I guess as these redistricting the lines are put in place and trying to find and trying to put this district around the benefit of minorities, and that's the way I sort of thought about it when they said, oh, when you redistrict off the reservation, up in the suburb or Flagstaff, these are the low-income families, and this is where they're at. It don't sound right to me. It says sound like that Native Americans are all poor. I wish that that type of dialogue is not district around, thrown around redistricting. But we know that those are the areas where a lot of the population's at. But one area is there are college students that go to school there that are in the dorms. How are they part of the factors of the redistricting? So particularly in Flagstaff or even Gallup, you have UNM there, you have NAU and Gallup and in Flagstaff. We know that we have college students that are there for 4 years that are living in the dorm, for maybe 5 months at a time. And then they're gone for 1 month back to their home. Then they're back in Flagstaff for another 5 months as they go to school. And looking at that, so they spend about 10 months in that community out of a year. And if they take summer classes, maybe 1 year. So how are our students, our college students, a factor in these border towns, that has community colleges and so forth to help with the redistricting, drawing these lines? So that's my question on that. Thank you.
Okay, Shane, thank you. Shanant, Honorable Otto. So I think some of our colleagues are going to be leaving the call HES committee. I think we lost Honorable Charlene. So I just want to see if we still have a quorum. Shanant, do we still have a quorum?
Chairman Keelan's here.
All right, Honorable Keelan Begay. Honorable Daniels is on there. Hey, though. Who else do we have? Honorable Halona. Honorable Paul Begay. I know we have 3 members of HES on the subcommittee.
Chairman Mark Freeland, this is Vice Chair Smith. I'm just calling in.
Good morning. Good morning, Shania. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Chair,
Oh, thank you.
Chair, this is Peggy.
Yes, Peggy.
For reports, you don't need a quorum, so you're okay.
Okay. All right. I do see Honorable Halona still on the line. And I don't know about Honorable Begay.
I don't see Honorable Begay on the call, just Delegate Key Allen Begay, Delegate Pernell Halona, and yourself, and Herman Daniels. Delegate Herman Daniels. We'll have one.
Any comments or questions, Shanata? Colleagues?
Chair Freeland, I'd like to address Delegate So's question. It's actually a pretty easy answer.
Go right ahead.
The census counts people, including college students, where they sleep.
Yeah.
So they count noses, and those college students will be counted if they live in Flagstaff and were living in Flagstaff at the time of the census there. It doesn't count where they vote, and so that will affect the Native American voting age population in both the community in which the students are going to school and the community from which they came. And so it skews the numbers a little bit, but it allows the census to allocate resources for those educational facilities rather than for the election votes. So those students get counted where they are sleeping at the time of the census.
And I'd like to add that when the census team came out back in 2017, 2018, that question was posed to the U.S. Census Department about how could we count our students who are going to school off the Navajo Nation. And the census group, I believe the head of that time was Dee, I can't remember her last name, but the answer came back was exactly what Patty said, was where they're counted. Where they sleep is where they're counted. And so Navajo did try to recoup those numbers of our college students that are off the Navajo Nation. And so when we look at the population, like in Albuquerque, you have Native Americans living all over. And it makes it difficult when you begin to look at trying to develop representation for city council in school districts. But we see some interesting things happening, like in Farmington. Farmington, New Mexico lost 8,000 people in this recent round of census. And it allowed the opportunity for us to draw a district that becomes an influence district where now Native Americans could possibly have 2 people on the county commission, 2 people in the school district, and possibly a representative on city council now. So all of this redistricting goes back to the census. And this is why census participation is very important, because this is where we draw our districts, is from the numbers that are generated from the census count.
Thank you, Ms. Bernali and Ms. Williams. Colleagues, any comments or questions for redistricting either in Arizona or New Mexico? Any comments or questions? Okay. So moving on then, if there's no comments or questions, what we need to do is go ahead and establish a motion in a second then related to this topic. Can I go ahead and, if we still have a quorum, can I go ahead and get a motion then?
This is Delegate Yellowhair, Chairman Freeland.
Oh, good morning, Shana. Go right ahead. Before we establish a motion in a second, go right ahead.
Good morning, Shanant. The Naabik'íyáti State Task Force Subcommittee in the shared by us. The redistricting is very important. We have some experience in the past that we always, the last minute, is we've been treated discrimination. I hope everything is a good plan for us as a Native American, so we don't be treated discriminate on these matters like school, funding sources, elections. We in the court. We don't want to have this happen. We want our districting to benefit us Navajo community, school, and board members, election members. Those aren't in there. But nothing is law. But has on he gets taken. We need to have that law that apply to us so we can benefit everybody. Corona Kate has it and lay that all the Tarhuna hit Iliana need all the apits are the tissue thingy. Has your been found occasion at Armslingi or his star hall square here. Yo, no by your key. Washing close as a shindy Katisha in the meeting. Holzaba has stayed all the support. Do a good job and we trustees are attorney Haida Kiki. Has your in Habetachin Nihai been Tachi Atale, make sure that our justice be heard and out front at all times. Thank you very much to Mr. Freeland. Shnat Ahna Klenis at Teleki Albigay, Doshna Paul Begay, Mashana Sherman Daniel, and Dosh Honorable Freeland, Doshna Asalona, Charlene So, Shumayaj. God bless. One close shot, Ole. Yeah, Anigi, Chairman, go back on mute now.
Comments mainly, and definitely appreciate your support and advocacy as well for your area. It's very important. Your district in LD7 and your congressional area too, Shana. So thank you, Honorable Jimmy Yellow here. Shana, any comments? Any additional comments before I ask for a motion and second to accept the reports?
Chairman.
Che.
Chair.
Honorable Che. Thomas Walker from an agency. Che, go right ahead.
Oh, thank you, Chairman of the subcommittee. Although subcommittee members, although other colleagues that are on the call, although the presenters appreciate the information, certainly as expressed by my colleagues here, we do appreciate the information, although the timing of it is critical. I wanted to just, I guess, ask a simple question. The redistricting meetings and activities where comments are collected, citizen comments, are the comments that are presented like in person or in this case Zoom calls or via phone calls. It seems like there's an emphasis on that where citizens voice their opinions, ask questions, and state their concerns or take a position on the matter. Can those comments, or those questions, can they also be posed by letters, emails, through electronic means, and then of course on Navajo and like other Native communities, maybe community meetings on Navajo, chapter meetings, chapter resolutions, and in some cases where chapter officials or delegates do write letters stating on behalf of my community here's my concern. Can, I guess, presenters speak to that? I'm just thinking kind of far and wide as to how our concerns can be put forth and on record. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Chairman, this is Judy Dworkin regarding Arizona.
Go right ahead.
It's very, very helpful to put any chapter resolutions, letters from individuals, letters from elected officials, to submit them electronically. That has been, as Ms. Benally indicated, that appears to be the preferential way that the Arizona Independent Redistricting Commission is receiving comments. And the 30-day period that just began this morning is the prime period for people to provide electronically any of the information that that one would like to do. So I expect that the Human Rights Commission, Ms. Benally and Leonard Gorman and Tiffany Charlie would be able to assist letting people know exactly where to send things to, but definitely one should try to submit as much information as one can during the 30-day period. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Orkin. Ashwiga Che.
Yes. Okay, we can take that. Thank you. Thank you for the response. Back to you, Chair.
Che. Subcommittee members, I did send out a text if we still do have a quorum. Colleagues, we do need to go ahead and accept these reports if there's no additional comments or questions. Can I go ahead and get a motion then and a second, please? Motion and a second motion.
Keelan?
Shana makes a motion. Is there a second? Second. I see Honorable Daniels and Honorable Halona still on the line. Subcommittee members?
Pastor Sean, let out get yellow here.
I wish I could, Shana.
Happy Halloween.
A task force member.
I know.
You know. Okay, thank you. Task force members, did we lose a quorum?
Yes, Chair, it looks like it. You only have 3 members on the call.
I see Honorable Daniel's still on the line. Honorable Halona's muted too. Honorable Keelan made a motion.
I'm still here, Chair. Keelan.
Okay, thank you. If they're not answering, we're not going to be able to have a vote or a second then. So in that case, we did lose a quorum. Task force members, going once, going twice. Okay, 3 times. We did lose a quorum then.
No, you still have quorum if you still have Delegate Begay, Herman Daniels, and also Halona.
Yeah, Halona and Daniels are both on the line, but they're not answering.
Yeah. They might be listening to Hess at the same time.
Chairman.
Yes.
Yeah, this is Halona.
All right, Halona.
I was on mute. I didn't know if they muted me. But I'm back.
Hold on, Honorable. So, okay, we need a second to accept the reports.
Second, Daniel.
Honorable Daniels makes a second. Okay, we do have a quorum still. Honorable So, go right ahead before we take a vote. Motion made by Honorable Begay, second by Honorable Daniels.
Thank you. One thing, I think we need to address this to Nabi, and then maybe address it to the agency caucuses too, because as these subcommittees and standing committees are put in place, delegates asked to be on certain standing committees and subcommittees, and they're not at these meetings. I think that should be something that should be addressed at the caucuses. That way, the agency delegates, the caucus, will address that and ask those questions. And with Western, I just need a letter. That way, I can call a caucus meeting to address this issue, ask why, and things like that. So that's how I would address that. And the other is that, I think we need to look at Title II to see why, this shouldn't be the case not to have a quorum as a meeting is in process. So thank you. That's just my recommendation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Kayla, Shana, thank you for that recommendation. But we do still have a quorum. We just have other multiple meetings going on as well. So thank you for that recommendation, though, Shana. It's really hard to have meetings going on these meetings going on at once. So understandably, and then as far as agency caucus are concerned, you're right, and we need to have a Eastern Agency caucus. So I completely agree with you on that. So Kayla, Shana. With that, we do have a motion and a second established for a acceptance of the reports. With that, Ms. Springer, if you can go ahead and call for the vote, please.
Yes, Chair, I can do that. Honorable Kealan Begay, how do you vote?
Kial votes green. Thank you.
Honorable Kealan Begay votes green. Honorable Paul Begay, how do you vote? Honorable Herman Daniels Jr., how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Herman Daniels Jr. votes green. Honorable Pernell Halona, how do you vote? Honorable Pernell Halona, how do you vote?
Halona votes green.
Honorable Pernell Halona votes green. Honorable Charlene So, how do you vote? Honorable Charlene So, how do you vote? Chair, you have 3 members in favor, 0 opposed, and chair not voting.
Thank you. Motion does pass to accept the reports by a vote of 3 in the affirmative, 0 opposed, and chair not voting. Thank you, Shanata. Thank you, lobbyists. Thank you, staff, Ms. Bernali, as well as Human Rights Commission. We do need to have a follow-up with you on Utah, as well as a second discussion related to this very important topic as well. Moving on down the item agendas, other discussions and announcements. Any announcements, Shanata? We do have a very important meeting going on right now in Page, and we did ask the colleague, Honorable Paul Begay and Honorable Chairman Daniel So, how we could help in that discussion. Maybe a follow-up, Ms. Nakai. I don't know if you want to touch base with the HES advisor on how we can touch base or how we can be a support to the HES committee on this very important topic related to Page. That's my announcement. Any other discussion or announcement, Shanta?
Chairman Kealan.
Shana, go right ahead.
Well, it's just maybe somehow the speaker probably needs to be aware. I do appreciate the recommendation, but it's just the fact that there's a lot of conflicting meeting that comes up. Yeah, we want to concentrate on these meetings, but the thing is that as a subcommittee, the full committee takes precedence, and even the full committee or full council session that takes precedence again. Meeting to prove it that from the speaker's office, and then all of our committee begins to start being asked to be here and be over there again. Are there other colleagues that joins into the meeting? It's not that we're not participating. It's just a matter that we're trying to do a lot of things at the same time. But we did our best, and we do our best to address all of these issues that gets onto the committee. So I just want to clarify, Chairman, Ecuador. My other colleagues, I know that they were trying to get onto their other oversight committee meeting scheduled by Ilagi. Chairman.
Thank you, Shana. I agree with you and I appreciate your clarification on that. So, with that, I want to go ahead. Are there any additional announcements? Additional announcements. Okay, if there's none, I want to go ahead and ask for a closure of the meeting and adjournment. Can I go ahead and get a motion and a second, please? Motion to adjourn?
Chairman Keelan.
Okay, Honorable Keelan Begay, is there a second? Shanta? Daniels, Honorable Daniels makes a second. Ms. Springer, if you can go ahead and give us a roll call vote to adjourn.
Yes, I can do that, Chair. Honorable Keelan Begay, how do you vote?
Chairman Keelan votes green. Thank you.
Honorable Keelan Begay votes green. Honorable Herman Daniels Jr., how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Herman Daniels votes green. Honorable Paul Begay, how do you vote? Honorable Pernell Halona, how do you vote? Honorable Pernell Halona, how do you vote? And Honorable Charlene So, how do you vote? Chair, you have 2 members in favor, 0 opposed, and Chair not voting.
Thank you. I think Honorable Halona might have dropped the call. Honorable Halona, he's still on there. Hold on. Honorable Halona, how do you vote to adjourn?
Chair Freeland, I see that Delegate Halona is still on the call.
He probably got muted again.
Honorable Halona,
No, he's not muted. He's still on the call.
*6 to unmute yourself.
hold on. I just sent him a text message. See if he'll vote.
Also, Delegate Daniels is still on the call as well.
Yeah, Delegate Daniels made a second.
Okay.
Or I believe Delegate Daniels voted green. The 2 greens that we have are Delegate Begay and Delegate Daniels.
That's right.
Just need one more.
His phone call just dropped. So I guess we've lost the quorum.
Daniels or Begay? Daniels is on there.
Halona.
Daniels is on the line still.
Yeah, Halona's call dropped.
Mr. Chair, this is Daniel.
Yes, brother.
Did you get Paul Begay?
Paul Begay, no. He votes green? Okay, well, Honorable Paul Begay votes in affirmative, Heather. They're all at that meeting and Page.
Okay, Chair, I got Honorable Paul Begay vote green, so that makes it.
And then Honorable Pernell Halona just texted me and votes green to adjourn.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
We got 4 affirmative.
Okay, so that makes the vote 4 in favor, 0 opposed, and Chair not voting.
Okay, on the adjournment. Thank you, Heather. Thank you for your patience, as well as Ms. Nakai and the staff at there. Thank you, OLS. All right, with that, time is currently 11:12 p.m. We are adjourned. State Task Force members, Nothenigi, have a good day. God bless, stay safe. Get your boosters. Thank you, everyone.
You too, Chairman.
I'll see you.
Yeah, brother. God bless.
No, I'll see you as I'll see you at Aztec Laundry.
Happy Halloween.
No.
Okay. Kasi na,
Oh.
Thank you, everyone. We'll be in touch on the next